How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to be doing a very quick, hopefully quick, very useful modification to the car. So when I bought the sea lights for the car, the guy that I met up with, I drove an hour and a half to go pick up these sea lights, which, by the way, they were brand new, not even ever used on the car, and I paid $65 for them, and they're 160 couple new. When I got there and told the guy I had to drive an hour and a half back, he gave me this Boomba shifter plate for free and a Perrin brass shifter bushing, and I also bought a shifter stop, which also came with a brass shifter bushing that looks identical to the Perrin shifter bushing. But anyways, got it real cheap. It's a knockoff. It's not the actual Perrin shifter stop, but it's going to work out just as good as the Perrin one would. It's just a little piece of metal, and you don't even see it. So, hey, if you can cheap out a little bit on that, go ahead. So, I'm going to spin the car around so I can get to the other side. It doesn't look like the easiest install in the world, but I'm going to give it a shot. Mostly because trying to get room underneath the car to get a roll pin in there, to get a punch to get the roll pin out and that sort of thing. But we're going to give it a shot. So let's go ahead and start with the easiest part of the installation, which will be the shift stop. Gonna go ahead, take that out, get this charger out of the way. Alright. There's two 10mm bolts right here on the factory shifter stop. We're gonna loosen them up. Now before we actually do this, I just want you to see how much slop there really is. In first gear, second gear, third to fourth is nice and tight. Over at fifth, sixth. So you can see where the slop really is. Now you'll be so impressed to see that this little piece of metal is going to fix that. Alright, so this shifter piece came with some washers. We put that underneath there, and then we'll take our Allen key and we'll tighten these down. Now I would start the whole way out, get it sort of tight, not super tight, and just adjust as you need to. So you can actually move the stock shifter plate in or out, and you can now move this one in or out as well. But obviously if you move it too far in, you won't be able to engage anything but third and fourth. Alright, so you can see it's installed now. Now check this out. Almost no slop to speak of, and this is before the brass shifter bushing or the shifter plate. So, incredible mod. This was $13 for this piece right here with the brass shifter bushing. Just make sure you can see about where I have it adjusted to. I actually moved in the factory gate just a little bit, and it took a little bit of tweaking, but it's perfect right where it's at. Alright, so I just slid the light under the car so I can show you guys what's going on. I did get the factory shifter plate off now, but there's a couple things I want to show you guys, a couple things to note before you do this install yourself. Just so you know, I'm about probably 30 to 45 minutes in, and I did get the roll pin pretty much out. Once I got it pretty much out, I felt this loosen, and I was like, okay, good, I can just take the whole assembly out now, and I'll get the roll pin out now. I didn't do it under the car because then I could have lost it and been looking for it for an hour. So here it is. I'm going to punch the rest of this out so I can go under the car with the new shifter plate, which is right here. There is the stock versus the new Boomba. The washer is still on here. Here's the new shifter bushing and the grease. So we'll get under here and get all this done. I will be honest, guys, it is not pleasant under here at all. And you're going to probably hate being under here. But it's got to be done. Doesn't have to be done. I didn't have to do this. So, a couple things to note. As you can see, my shifter linkage is over here hanging. There's two bolts right here. I don't know how anyone has ever done this without taking this linkage off. Because right here, you can see the angle that the roll pin has to get punched out from. So when you have this punch, right like this, you have to hit it at an angle, and that angle happens to be right where that plate is. So you can't hit it right to get the roll pin in on that angle. So you definitely have to remove that the whole way if you want this to go smoother. And also the top, there's a heat shield here, not a heat shield, but a dust shield, and it'll bolt into all these screws here. There's 3 here, as you can see, 1, 2, 3. Then there's one up top that's really hard to get to, but if you get a wrench and you line it up, it comes this way. So it's not terrible to get to. The transmission obviously lowers a little bit when you take all these brackets off, which is laying right there on the ground next to me. I took it off in one big piece, opposed to taking off all the pieces by themselves. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna slap this thing on here and hopefully be able to punch this roll pin back in so we can get this cleaned up. Okay guys, so far the roll pin was definitely the worst part of the install. So you can see I finally got it back in, and that took probably 20 to 30 minutes just to get that stupid roll pin in. So once you get that back in, the rest should just be a cakewalk. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna pop this bushing out, put the brass bushing on, lube this all up, and I gotta find the washer that fell off that, which I was worried about, and should be good to go. All right guys, hopefully you can see that there. I got the brass shifter bushing back in, got the cotter pin on, everything's ready to go. This shield will no longer fit onto this transmission, so you're not going to be able to run that shield anymore, which I've been reassured that it doesn't really do anything besides help with dirt. So as long as you're not like on a constantly dirty environment, you should be okay. So now I'm going to go ahead, retighten down all these brackets, put the transmission bracket in, tighten that down, and we should be good to go, and then we'll hop in the car and see how it looks. So I'm going to edit this so it looks like a literal before and after. So I'm gonna do the before shot and immediately clip in the after shot. This is going to be the short shifter plate, the Boomba shifter plate, which is gonna supposedly reduce the throw up to 30%. And this will also be the brass shifter bushing at the exact same time. So here's the stock shift. Completely honest with you, it feels like a completely different shifter. Wow. That's all I can say. I'm blown away by just the shifter plate changing that much. So I can only imagine if I had the Boomba short shifter to go along with this, it would be like virtually, I can't even imagine. So brass shifter bushing, the shifter stop, and the Boomba shifter plate is going to completely change how your car shifts. I mean, I'm excited to go for a drive and just see how this is. Completely honest with you, I'm blown away by how good this shifter feels. It honestly, it doesn't feel very notchy like it did when I had the Boomba short shifter on my last WRX. With that one, it felt like really notchy, and it sort of felt tough to get into gears at times. This is just like firm. It doesn't feel sloppy at all now. It is so stiff and so like, it's so crisp, you know. It's reassuring feeling. You know when you're going into gear. It engages perfectly. It doesn't feel as spongy as it used to. It gave this car a way more better modern feel. It feels a lot more performance oriented now. Before it felt like I was maybe driving around, you know, a minivan or something that was manual. This feels like a WRX should. So it should feel like this from factory, but it doesn't. But that's what the aftermarket's for. We get awesome parts like that to help alleviate the problems, and that's definitely what this did. So I'm super impressed with it. It's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth every penny. It's worth your time. It's worth it. So I'm glad I got it for free, because if I wouldn't have, I might not have bought one. But getting one for free, I had nothing to lose, you know, and I definitely would pay full price for this stupid thing. It's worth every cent. It's awesome. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.